Hello and welcome back to Anna Rose Reads the podcast. I am your host Anna, and I return once again for this year-end extravaganza. I have McLeod Chapman back on the podcast, the very first guest that I had on my podcast this year to talk about his big year, all of his major releases this year, namely Acquired Taste and Shiny Happy People, in addition to Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. It is a very fun conversation. It's a very long conversation as me and Clay both love to talk about horror. Yeah, and this kind of kicks off what's going to be the wind down of Anna Rose Reads for 2025. So sit back, relax, enjoy this conversation, and I'll recap what you can expect from me in the next few weeks at the end of the show. Hello, Mr. Chapman. How are you?
I'm good. I've been looking forward to this. I feel like I haven't
Yeah,
talked to you in a long time.
I
So
know. It's been a
I
minute.
I mean, I feel like it's been months. You got married, you
I
did all this
did.
stuff, and then I don't know. I feel like you never like come to it's not like expectations, but it's like you there's like certain interviews, podcasts, certain people that it's like I really am looking forward to this and really kind of excited about what conversation may come. Which I think is honestly just me exploiting this interview for therapy.
Oh, well, look, is that not? We discussed this last time. Listen, we started off the year with a conversation about Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. We're
Mhm.
ending the year about everything else that you've published in between because you've published so much. And we did talk about me possibly being a therapist for horror writers the last time we talked. So again, full circle moment, alpha and omega. It's very fitting, you know?
Yeah, I've been waiting since January, basically, or whenever I haven't had therapy since, so
Oh,
I've just been like
wow. Okay.
I've been working, like I've been building up. I have a list. I have a little notebook right here with all it's like my dream journal, like every assignment that you gave me since our last session. Like I'm ready.
Perfect.
I'm ready to unload.
Fantastic.
Oh my God. Can
So
you
happy to hear
imagine?
it. Oh God, no.
You're never gonna
Um,
have me back. I'll be like,
oh
oh my
no.
God, like, oh geez, Louise.
No, you could be like my success story. You could be my poster child. It's free marketing.
I healed I healed him. I fixed him. Doesn't write horror anymore, but he's happier. Um, but isn't that what like I know I'm like commandeering this already, forgive me,
Oh
but
no. This is how this goes.
but isn't it like I don't know, like print journalism is dead.
Yeah.
There's no interview patois anymore. Like I feel like way back when like everybody would do like articles, you would have to boil it down to a sound bite. But now with the wonders of podcasting, it's like I could just like yammer, 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 and like I don't have to make a goddamn point at all.
Yeah,
It's just stream of conscious like bit bop beep bop boop boop.
the limit does not exist with this format, which is a blessing and a curse. Because I always feel bad if I like take up more than an hour of somebody's time. But, I got a lot of questions and I got a lot of things I want to talk about, so
I have zero answers. I have nothing. I
I
come
don't
to
believe
you
that.
I come to you empty. I am a vessel of just pure Buddha hollowness. Like just what is it? Like just like I am a vase and I am empty. Fill me with water.
I don't believe that for a second. Um, but and for that reason, that I don't believe that is you had four things come out this year in their entirety. We kicked off the year with Wake Up and Open Your Eyes, which we talked about the last time that you were on. So, if, I don't want to go too far into that because there's already a whole conversation about that. But since then, there was also a graphic novel, Seance in the Asylum, which, it came out in issues, right? And then they did the whole collected. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the version that I have is the whole collection. And then you have your collection that came out, Acquired Taste, the
Yeah.
whole axolotl bit that I cannot
Yeah.
wait to talk to you about.
Mm.
And then last but not least, we're talking on November the 9th. So this coming week, you have a YA horror novel coming out called Shiny Happy People. And it's all
Yeah.
about REM. No, I'm just kidding.
I wish. I love REM. Does REM get the legacy
I think
pass?
that they
Like,
do. I mean, for me, they do. They were like my parents really, really like them, and
oh my
it,
God, I feel
it,
so old.
no, it
He just
forced
did
its
the
way.
thing. He just did the thing of
I
like,
did.
oh
I
my
saw it
God.
happen.
My parents, they loved REM and they would
No,
share. Oh
but they
no.
like made me, I don't want to say made me. It was like they had the CDs, they had the cassettes. You grew up listening to it, and so like it's a happy listen now because you're kind of like nostalgic for those days. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my God. I do know what you mean. I was there when REM was playing them LPs. Wait. Okay, what era did your parents make you listen
Oh,
to REM?
always.
No, but like what era of their career? Like was it like
That was
early? Was it middle? Was it late? Was it green? Document? That was my jam. But like out of time is when I started to kind of like
mm,
like when Shiny Happy People kind of like entered the
I kind of group REM with like, and I'm thinking about this, and like this is probably gonna date it, but like Matchbox 20, Dave Matthews Band, REM, like that was like what my mom's CDs were like. Though it
oh
was
my
like those
God.
three on a rotation for a hot minute there. So
Crash into me.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
Um,
this is actually not what your YA novel is about, despite what most people would believe based on this conversation. Um, I have to ask you off the bat. I'm gonna let you introduce. Let's do this. I'll let you introduce the plot of Shiny Happy People, and then I have an immediate follow-up question once you introduce that book.
all right, you're putting me to the test. Let's see if I
Yes,
can
I
do
am.
this. Uh, hmm. Shiny Happy People is a sci-fi horror YA novel about a teenager named Kira who has a real vice-like grip on her life, um, really in control because she kind of deals with anxiety and wants to kind of be the kind of master of her fate, but has started to notice that a lot of her friends and family are kind of changing for the better, maybe. And it just so happens to kind of dovetail with uh, like a new drug that's kind of going around the high school parties. And it seems to be hijacking the personalities and identities of the people around her at school and at home. And it gets really, really scary.
I would argue that it does. So the question that I want to ask you right off the bat, it feels like there is shared DNA between this story and Ghost Eaters. Mostly just for like the obvious like drug component of it, right? But
Yeah.
there's some other things. How long have you been sitting on the plot of Shiny Happy People?
Ow! I'm still on it.
Oh,
It's still there under my butt. Um, well, I mean, truth told, and I don't know how to talk about this, so I think I'm just gonna say it.
yeah,
I was approached to write Shiny Happy People, and it was through a company that read Ghost Eaters, and we were like, we really like Ghost Eaters. We want you to do this.
yeah,
Have you ever thought about writing YA? And would you want to do a body snatcher riff? And I was
yeah,
like, heck yeah, I want to do a body snatcher riff. Like, who doesn't? And I pitched and I was off to the races. So it was, yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because the DNA strand of Ghost Eaters is there,
Yeah.
um, and I can't avoid it. So I don't know if I should try to hide it or not hide it, but like it is, it's if it weren't for Ghost Eaters, I wouldn't have written this. So, but
Yeah.
it wasn't so much me sitting on the story as much as it was like, hey, what's this?
Like an offshoot of sprouting
Yeah.
from Ghost Eaters. Yeah. I guess the thing for me is like Ghost Eaters is a very adult novel. Like it is very like I think that if you read that at too young of an age, you may not get all the nuances of some of the stuff that you have in there. In particular with like growing up, you're constantly growing up and you're constantly coming of age and you are
Hmm.
always in repair and you are always under construction and there are certain times where you're going to be more vulnerable to certain things than not and there's a lot of
Hmm.
grief to be found in that. But whereas Shiny Happy People, I think that you do a really cool thing that I have a lot of respect for is that you examine the role of kind of like mental health, medication, taking care of yourself. How much does control serve you? How much does letting go serve you? Like you don't really you ask a lot of questions to people of that age, which I
Hmm.
think is really, really important because the way that the world is moving, it's a constantly medication based, right? Like there's a pill for everything. And that's a great thing. And as somebody who takes medication, that's a wonderful thing to help get you through some, tough times or for a long time if you need it. But at the same time, there's an argument that can be made that you need to like treat the root of what's going on that's, afflicting you. And I just think that you're posing a lot of really important questions with this novel to that demographic at an important age, right? Because like
Yeah.
when you're that age is when this starts coming to be.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. I mean, the book comes out in 2 days,
Yeah.
and the reviews so far have been really ultimately pretty positive. But some of them are like, it's so interesting because like when you write for a younger readership, and
Hmm.
this one's YA, so ostensibly it's like they say like 12 to whatever, 18, 19.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm at, and it is technically my first YA. I've also written for middle grade
Yeah.
uh, way back, and that's like 9 to 13. And both times writing for younger audiences, younger readers, um, when you start to talk about like pharmaceuticals, medications, it's such a thorny issue that like, I mean, I've had like reviews that are like really kind of like taking me to task for like like it's such a thorny issue that like there's a little bit of like condemnation of like, this is like how not like how dare you, but like, this can of worms of like
Yeah.
medication in these days. It's like it's so uh I don't know, it's just so tough that like I think of someone who is either taking medication, thinking about taking medications, like having discussions with their parents about taking medication. Uh, it's scary because in my mind, the fear is always who am I going to be on the other side of this pill?
Yeah.
And wanting to be me still. Like I still want to be me and like, like I'm not making any judgment calls or value judgments on it's not like medicine is bad,
Yeah.
prescriptions are bad, but it is tapping into that personal fear of like what makes me me and what is
Yeah.
my identity, and there are parts of me that need help or assistance, and the best way to get that is through prescription, through medications. But what is the side effect of like like will I still be me afterwards? And like it's just that fear.
Yeah.
And I wish we could have that conversation without it being necessarily a condemnation on
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals at
Well, yeah.
large. But yeah,
But
there
I,
you
I
go.
think that's the point that you make though, is like you have to, in my opinion, and this is like, I might get taken to task over this, but in my opinion, you have to be informed
when you make that choice whether or not you need to get on medication. And I think that the really important thing, especially in today's world, is just that you are aware that you might be different, and you need to check in with yourself and the people around you to see who you are, because I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with the people that I love. Like sometimes you get on these things and they make a world of difference for the better, and sometimes they make a terrible, terrible turn, make things so much worse. And like especially with mental health and medication, and whether it's like you're seeking therapy or a pill, it's such a gray area, right? Like you got to do what works for you. I think that the big thing that like I'm begging that everybody takes away from this book is like you just have to interrogate where you're getting your information and yourself. Like, is this really serving me right now? Because like, I mean, I'll get deep. This is really going to get like therapy. I'll get deep in this.
Hmm.
This time last year, I ended up leaving a job that was like very, very traumatic for me. You know about this.
Hmm.
And I'm still on medication to get over kind of the state that my nervous system was living in for like a long time. And that's stuff that's going to take time to just undo, right?
Hmm.
But there have also been times in my life where I was like, oh, let me just, when I was in college, I had like a really tough time for a while. If you just get on a pill to make you feel happier, and you don't go and you don't talk about what's making you feel that way, then you're going to stay that way for a really, really long time and become dependent. And that's equally scary as well, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many areas that this kind of stuff applies to. There's so many shades of gray. And I just don't I think that it's really important that our young people are aware of every shade of gray that this can come in, and to interrogate for yourself, like, is this really what's best for me? That's
Yeah.
my biggest takeaway from this and what I hope people get from this book.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's intense because I do think that you know, in the kind of development of this book and the writing of it, like a lot of focus was kind of on the opioid crisis, which it
Yeah.
was a completely different kind of, you know, different type of drug, different type of medication. Um, but to that thought of yours of like questioning and always kind of interrogating and knowing as much as you can, I do think it is interesting how very recently um, you have these pharmaceuticals that kind of end up on the market
Yeah.
that are given the thumbs up, given the go ahead, and yet like we put our trust and our faith and whomever, whether it's the FDA or
Yeah.
the pharmaceutical companies or our families or our therapists or who like our doctors, like it's it's an endemic kind of fear of, but I was told this would be safe. I was
Yeah.
promised I'd be okay. And like, and still like, so yeah, for me, like it's just, it was such a ripe narrative for like taking a real world fear and placing the kind of the mask of the metaphor of the body snatchers trope over it,
Yeah.
and letting it kind of coalesce into its own thing. Um, that was the goal. And yeah, I hope people like it.
No, I think you accomplished what you set out to do for certain. And there's a few things I want to talk about too, especially with Kira and her character. I really
Mm,
related to her and her like wanting to have a sense of control over everything, because I'm just like I've got that personality type, and it's
yeah.
like uh probably why I am the way I am is because of that need for control. And to see her kind of like systemically, like it kind and this is not a spoiler because I mean it's like the first chapter, like the first thing that you read, you see her brother kind of like fall into this first. And
Hmm.
then there's an additional level of horror of like, okay, you know what's kind of going on before it's really said, but you also get to watch socially the reactions to the people around them, and how accepting they are of like, well, he's just doing better. What's so wrong about that? There's a social horror component to that. That he's like, the thing she notices that the things that make him are no longer present. Like he's no longer kind of a mess. He's no longer you know, doing the things that were him. And
Mhm.
his parents are just happy about it. Like they're just like, oh well, he's better, you know. And it raises the question of like, well, is it better? Is it better to be better? Or is it better to be you? Right? Like that's a big identity question, right?
Yeah. And I think that's where the probably where the thorny kind of issue comes in, where it's like, you know, we are these composites of so many kind of elements and like, the rougher edges, the kind of nuances, the complexities. If we want to kind of tackle this one specific component to you and get that, like this needs healing, this needs repair, you know, how can we focus on that thing? And yeah, it's interesting because Kira, I identify with Kira in that kind of iron grip
Yeah.
because I grew up in a family where addiction, alcoholism in particular, was always a kind of shadow, like a
Yeah, it
cloud
looms
over the
over your
family.
head. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I my kind of personal um mandate or ethos was basically to say, nope, nope, not gonna do it. Gonna hold on, batten down the hatches, and just like pucker my ass for the rest of my life. And such a buzzkill, like just nailed to the edge, all through high school, pretty much all through college ish, and like because I was always afraid, and I still am. Jesus, like that idea of like, if I just take this one sip, if I just drink this one drink, it's gonna like be the downfall of me. Like, because
Yeah.
that cloud is just always looming, and like I've seen what it does to members of my family. I've seen what it does to friends, and for me personally, I've always just been like, not gonna do it, not gonna do it. Um, and yeah, that's for Kira. It's like it's funny how like so much of one's identity can be kind of in opposition to like
Hmm.
I will not partake or I will not indulge. And in lieu of that, I will be an alpha student. I will be an overachiever. I will be like I will do all of these other things in order to kind of keep the anxiety away. And that's just a coping mechanism. That's a defense mechanism. Yeah. I don't know if there's an answer in there somewhere.
Oh
Meandering
no.
podcast patois.
I was about
Um,
to say that's what this is for.
but you know what did it for me? What was truly the guiding light was I read what was it? Mallory? No, not Mallory. Daphne.
Daphne.
Daphne
Oh God. Ooh, yeah.
by Joshua
Mallerman.
Mallerman. And
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, here's anxiety on the page. And I loved it. I loved it. And I like I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna copy that.
The
That's it.
chapter, the chapter of that book, I think it's called. I think her name is Kit, and it's like Kit Harington Kit calls the cops on herself or whatever it is. That chapter is like some of my favorite like pieces of fiction like I've ever read because that's
Mm.
so relatable what he writes about. But I also want to equally give you your flowers on this. Your depiction or description of anxiety with Kira and like there's an offshoot of that to where it really, forgive the pun, really blooms later in the story as well. But it's just so relatable because as somebody who has struggled like with a panic episode more than a time or two, it's just it feels like that vice and it's like something is growing inside you and it's like the ivy over the wall and you give it a shape and a name that I think that young people at this age who are, that this book is targeted for, not saying that these are the only folks reading it. I've benefited from it. I'm reading it. I'm closer to 30 than I am, 20. I think it's important, right? Like
Yeah.
that you get that visual of what this is.
Yeah, the that's so cool. The anxiety ivy was a later addition. Like it wasn't in the first draft
Hmm.
and it took some time to find it. And like sometimes like you don't have it yet and it like something just clicks and like something like you find something and the anxiety, like I got some feedback early on, and Jesus, I can't even remember what the feedback was, but it had specifically something to do with like her panic attacks and like her like it's just not reading well. And I just needed to give it a face.
Yeah.
Basically, I had to give it an image, like a visual of some sort. And I was just like, anxiety ivy. Which, duh, the whole book is like plants and shit. And I'm just
Right.
like, like it was just like it's right there in front of you, and you're just like, I need to find it. Where is it? And it's like, what's going on? Like, oh, I just
Yeah.
finally like opened my eyes. And
You
there I
woke
was.
up and opened your eyes. Wow. Anyway, sorry. I can't help
Mhm.
myself. No, I get what you mean though. And I think that it's one of those things that when you look at the whole big picture of the book, it certainly seems obvious, but oh, God, I can't help with the puns today when you're in the weeds of it. It's a little bit
Mhm,
harder to
mhm,
see.
mhm.
There's another aspect of this book that I really like because I think it's also very relatable is like the coming of age element of being a young adult and like coming into adulthood, particularly for Kira is like we talk about how tight of a grip that she has on things. She has friends who, start to partake in drugs and, this drug in particular, and it like really rattles her, like really upsets her, and like the friendship dynamic of like cutting people off and like I feel like that's something that a lot of kids go through
Mhm.
whenever like for me I was the baby of my class so everybody was maturing ahead of me so everybody's interests in partying and alcohol and dating were like far ahead of mine and I
Mhm.
lost so many friendships because I was like I just don't understand why you're not worried about this that and the other like you used to be and
Yeah.
I think that this book gives a pretty good image to that feeling of like you're kind of because your identity is rooted in the people around you when you're that age, like your social circle. And so whenever you start to lose that, you feel like you're kind of losing yourself.
Yeah.
So that there's that social horror component as well.
Yeah. Yeah. High school sucks.
High school does suck.
Um, do I really feel that though? I had a pretty good middle school sucked.
Mm,
High school was okay, but like God, just fitting in and like just being like knowing yourself, like trying to understand yourself and then trying to understand yourself in the context of other people and like
yeah.
oh my God, and then add hormones on top of that and like
Mm-hmm.
add like it was such a weird time. Like hindsight, just like thinking back to it, it's just like, oh my God, like how am I alive? How did like how did we all how does anyone survive that, How does
Yeah.
anyone survive college? How does anyone survive their 20s? Like how does anyone survive life at
Yeah,
all?
you think back on like what you didn't know at a certain point, and you're like, God, how was anybody friends with me at that time? Or like, how did I get through, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. High school wasn't my favorite. I had good middle school, not great high school, and then solid college. But yeah, it's just like whenever you're in your teens and you're like trying to figure out your place in the world and like beyond, you know, high school is a lot.
Yeah.
And then you see people become interested in other things and you just don't understand it, like, because it's not what you're into. And
Yeah.
everything is about you whenever you're that age. So
Ugh, that was such a shit
I
through it
think
all.
everybody feels that way about their high school years, honestly.
I mean, yeah. I think I'm trying to like reconcile with my turdness as a teen and as an adult. I just want to get into heaven. That's all. Let me let me make it to the pearly gates and just like reconcile with all the shittiness of my teens.
Yeah. Do you feel like writing a story like Shiny Happy People helps you with that? Like, kind of.
I mean, probably not. Um, I I do feel like Ghost Eaters might have helped.
Hmm.
Or at least it was like I'm I don't know what I mean, here's therapy for you. Like I'm just using these books to just lacerate myself. Like Aaron and Ghost Eaters, that's just me. It's privilege, 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 like you know, silver spoons. and then wake up and open your eyes is like, liberal bubble, lash, lash, lash. Uh, and then like I don't with Kira and Shiny Happy People, I feel really like I feel for her.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I do too.
I don't know if I identify with her as much as I'm just like, oh, Kira, I hope you survive. I hope
Yeah,
you make it, because the world is conspiring against you. And it
yeah.
sucks out there.
Well, it's just like when you have that moment of realization that like the world is very much full of teeth and that strategy of gripping on for dear life may not be the one that serves you best. You
Yeah.
know, you gotta kind of like allow some room for some grayness,
Yeah. But like,
and some grayness and like some grace for yourself too is like a really hard thing to accept. To be
yeah.
nice to yourself, not bully yourself.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I feel as if there are characters in this world, not in books, but in this world where like it's like I got to get into this school, I got to go to this college, I got to get this job, I got to do this. And this is how I make it. This is how
Mhm.
I survive. Like A to B, there can be no delineation, no rest stops, no like it's just like this is the straight and narrow. And in order to succeed in life, this is what I have to do, and I'm going to do it. And you know, that comes with a certain kind of like tunnel vision, a little
Yeah.
myopic, and it's tough because it's like it doesn't allow you a chance to be a human being and it doesn't
Hmm.
allow you a chance to fail and learn. And I think Kira's holding on to that and like she's got those blinders up, And then, like sometimes she's right, sometimes she's wrong, sometimes she opens up, sometimes she lets the guard down, that
Yeah.
that comes with its own kind of foibles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the world's a scary place.
Yeah. She does find somebody though who like gets her and is
Yeah.
willing to help her and shares somewhat of a similar mindset. And I can't talk too in depth about that because there's, spoilers involved with that. Um,
Was Logan?
yeah, with
Oh,
where
okay.
things end up. But I
Crash into me.
yeah. Cue the Dave Matthews. No, I really like their dynamic, and I think that their hesitancy towards like trusting one another felt very organic in a
Yeah.
world where like Kira doesn't trust anything, after what she's experienced.
Yeah.
Um, but she also kind of says F it in the beginning and just kind of goes with him on a whim. So
Which is totally like, I'm gonna do something rash. I'm just gonna do something dangerous. I'm gonna
yeah,
say yes. Like,
exactly.
um, which is a very un-Kira like thing to do. But yeah, I mean, like, I mean, just in all honesty, I just wanted to write a teen romance. I just wanted to write some lovey-doveyness. I just love.
I think that you love tragedy too. I'm gonna throw that out there, but
Uh, no, I don't. I don't love tragedy. Never.
yeah.
No. No. I mean, like, love is just like, especially like teen love. It's like the best. It's like,
Well, it's innocent. It's so innocent and shiny and like protected, Like
yeah.
it's very pure,
God.
it seems like.
Oh my God. I had my heart broken. I like the purity of it, yeah, the shininess. Like it's just so I am 200 years old now and like I ache for that kind of first love of like do you just remember in high school like just whoever that was and just like how uh I don't know, like it's not pristine, it's really rough and clumsy and raw,
No, but
but
it's
like
very pure in the sense of like if you imagine like a substance, it is 100% of that. It's not diluted with anything else. Like
yeah.
it's not pure in the sense of like, oh, this has nothing bad in it. It's just very concentrated of like puppy love. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it is 100% through and through that.
Oh, I love it so much.
There's a horror component to that too, though.
What?
Well, just like whenever. it that it's not when you get older, it's not like there's only that one time. It's not sustainable. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's kind of a horrific thing to think about sometimes.
You know, the worst, I don't know if this is in context what you're saying, but like it made me think of like, I remember when I had my first love. And like I had had relationships before that I thought I was in love.
Hmm.
And then I had my relationship where I was in love,
Yeah.
where it was like, oh, this is my first love. And like kind of feeling that and being like, this is, this is it. This is my world. I have found it. Oh my God. And then it ends and feeling that heartbreak. Oh my God. And it was rough. It was rough. And just living in that ache. And then like the thing that you made me think of was that like people would be like, oh, like there'll be others. There'll be someone else. You'll fall in love again. And like they were right,
Yeah.
of course, but like not like refusing that. Like I reject your premise of like thickening my skin.
No,
Like
I
I
agree.
wanna, I like this. I want to be hurt. I just want like I didn't want it to end. And like I wanted to Romeo my shit and just just like this was all I wanted it to be.
Well, like
Um,
it's a double-edged sword though, right? Because it's a comfort, I think, whenever you're hurting in that space, whenever it does come to a close, it's like I will know now. I will know I will never be this hurt again. And that's really comforting because there's a certain reality that comes with it, but then there's also the certain sadness of knowing like it'll never be that innocent again. You'll never be as without blinders. You know what I mean? Like you will never
yeah,
be as vulnerable, it feels like.
yeah,
And again, good thing and a bad thing. For me, it's comforting because of like how traumatic sometimes the end of that like first intense love can be. It can be so traumatic. But
yeah,
to me, it's comforting. But I know, like you said, there's the flip side of that is it's really horrific sometimes too.
yeah. I'm responding as 14-year-old me, maybe 15-year-old me, where it's just like I didn't like 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 it was my love. It was like I was like there's Abraham Lincoln's love, there's your neighbor's love, like, but it was like this was like my first love, and to lose it, it felt like I'll never I'll never feel this way again. And I've loved since, you know, 3,000 years later,
You're not that
and
old. Jesus Christ.
I'm glad that like I'm not still that person that I was when I
Yeah,
was 15. But like there's just no getting that back. Like that was it. Maybe that's a book. First Love. Oh my God. I'm
I
gonna
think
write that.
that I think that you should. I think that there's a lot that goes into that because there's also like I think the thing about it that makes it so precious is like life hasn't hit you yet. It's
Mm.
like you can't unring the bell that
Mm.
life does to you when you age and you grow older. So like it gets tied up in the idea of youth and nostalgia
Yeah.
and like all those things that just like really hit you hard. But it's just like you're not tarnished by the world yet at that
Yeah.
point. The realities of how things work have not fully set in.
Who What are the good like first love books? Are there any like first love horror books?
I
Is
don't
there,
know.
I mean,
Twilight.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, yeah, right?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
I mean, that's like here's my beating heart ripped out of my chest and like I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I have to read Twilight, is basically what you're saying.
I can't. I cannot wait for whatever comes out on the heels of a Clay McLeod Chapman Twilight read.
I just love love.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. and we're gonna move on to acquired taste now
Hmm.
because there's all kinds of love in those stories, man. There's love of axolotls. There's love of some. I'm gonna jump the gun here, and I'm just gonna say I think that you predicted the whole Labubu craze with knockoffs
Hmm.
long before it came to fruition. You've got so many like bangers in this collection. It's a really solid collection. I'm gonna rattle off my favorite ones. Actually, before I do that, I feel like the one that you get the most and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, the one that you get the most reaction from is baby carrots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the one that most people are like, oh my God,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like a collection of short stories uh, by a single author usually is like an album, you
hmm
know, and maybe it's like a B-sides album or like a single, like a greatest hits album. I don't know. Like it's like an album where like if a novel is like a concept album where it's like everything is like
Yeah,
exists within this
interconnected.
one. Yeah, like a short story collection ends up being like some version of an album that and Baby Carrots is the first single off the album. So it's like,
That makes sense.
you know, is it the best story? I don't know. But it is the one that's like it's like the catchy radio play hit.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about that story a little bit, just like how the hell that happened for you, because it's very unique. It's there's body horror, there's a food horror, there's
Mhm.
a relationship horror, and it's very short. There's all kinds of things. So like I feel like it's very basic of me to be like, how the hell did you think of that? But like quite frankly, I don't know how you.
I mean, honestly, 90. So the primary sources of inspiration for stories like these, it's one of two places, and it's either that I read about it in the newspaper, and I was like, "Holy shit, that needs to be a story,"
Yeah.
or it's literally me just being a dumbass and having these like stoner epiphanies. Like,
Yeah.
I don't do drugs, but I have these asinine kind of stoner epiphanies where I'll just be sitting around, thumb up my ass, and I'll just be like, dude, what's up with that? Like like just give me a bag of Doritos and a bong hit, and I'll just be like, whoa, baby carrots, what are those all about? Like
But
that's
that's you do that multiple times though with the what's that about? Like you look at I feel like you look at one thing like a beat too long
Mhm,
and you say,
mhm.
"Well, what's the deal with that?" And then the short story comes from it. I mean, you could argue that about baby carrots, you could argue that about breast pumps for breast milk. You could argue that about Civil War statues, children's toys. I mean, axles we can keep rattling off for all of this with the stories in this collection. But I do feel like they're very like I could almost point to like what you were doing in your day when you got
Yeah.
inspiration, I think, for some of these.
I mean, have you ever looked at a bag of baby carrots? Like that's some
Yeah.
fucked up shit. They're just like weird fucking things, man.
I'm not gonna
Man.
lie. It grosses me out more that they're a normal shape, like that they're like a recognizable shape than they are like an organic shape. Because it seems man-made. It seems like man-made food.
Because they are man-made. That's
But
the
it's
thing.
fresh, but it's fresh food. It's a dichotomy. It's not.
They've like designed like they've like
Yeah.
they've like sanded them down. Like that's just
Yeah.
a it's a fucked up world we're living in, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a wild
There's
world out there.
there's one story in particular like I really want to talk to you about. And this is part of the story, but it's Nathan Ballingrud. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I don't
Na-
know.
yeah.
Are you?
Nathan Ballingrud's Haunting Horror Rex. Um, how did you write that? And like did you have to get clearance for that? Did you have to get like copyright permission?
I mean, it's another one of those stupid stoner epiphanies. Like I
Yeah.
literally like I am a fan of Nathan Ballan Grud.
Grood?
Grud?
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 Yep.
Grud? And I mean I've read his stuff for ages and there was the moment of like reading something somewhere where it was like Nathan Ballingrud Grud works in a bookstore in Asheville, North Carolina. And I just sat with that for a minute and I was like, dude, what would it be like to like go down, like hop in the car and like just drive to see Nathan Ballinger. Like it is like that was the thought. Like honestly, that was all it was. It was like, I wonder if I could get in a car and drive down to see Nathan Ballinger. And what would that be like? And how would he handle that? And what would his, would it be like, hi, welcome to the bookstore I work in. How can I help you? You're Nathan Ballinger. Yes, I am. Can I help you find a book? Like, like what would be the interplay of like, has a fan ever walked into his store and been like, hey, you're Nathan Ballinger? Or has anyone like accosted him? Has there been like a line crossed? Um, and I just was like, I mean, and this is honestly, that story is the stoneriest of all stoner epiphanies because it was just like, oh, this clearly has to be a part of the story of like, dude, let's get in a car and drive down and see Nathan Ballingrud,
But it
dude.
it feels like it's doing that sort the story's doing more than that though, because it feels like you're kind of examining the role of readers and like fans and fandom and how far you take it and like there's also the component of, part of this premise of the story is like Nathan had this book coming out, it got yanked, there's like weird like creepypasta about it kind of like
Yeah.
dark internet rumor. Like there's so much more texture to it than just being a stoner thought, though. You know what I mean? Like it feels like you're in conversation with the horror genre, like the state of the horror genre itself, like the social
Yeah.
component of it.
I mean, thank you for elevate my doggerel to grandiose themes. Um, I mean, it's interesting because I do think that I hold his writing to a high. I put it on the pedestal,
Hmm.
and fandom is weird.
Yeah.
Fandom is, we're at a place where we can kind of approach Stephen Graham Jones. We can approach Paul Tremblay, and I can be like, Paul Tremblay, I am a fan of your work. What are you thinking when you wrote Head Full of Ghosts? Like, tell me about that. And Paul Tremblay is probably like, I just want to like eat my nachos, guy. Like, like there's and social media, like slip into my DMs, ask me those weird questions about my stories and, like, but, but Nathan Ballingrud is like stuck behind a counter at a bookstore right now, and he has no recourse, no defense of like, Paul Tremblay can hide behind a pillar or something and like, blend in with the topiaries, but like Nathan can't because he works at a bookstore, and I just wanted to like, there wasn't anything to interrogate beyond the like it must suck to be a sitting target like that. And
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna argue something here though. I don't think that you can blend in. I think with social media, I think that it's made it really fucking hard to. I
Hmm.
think that and look, this podcast wouldn't be possible had it not be that DMs are accessible as they are,
Yeah.
right? Like, so like, where's the line of professionalism? Where do we put the line in the sand that's a difference between toxic fandom, enthusiast, like it's such a, and I'm not saying that there has to be answers to any of this because I think that this very moment in time given the technology that we have and where we're at as like, a community at large, like I think we're all wrestling with that, right?
Mhm.
Like, where's the boundary? Is
I
there a
think it's
boundary?
well, yes, there is, and it's an individual boundary. Everybody has to draw that line for themselves. And I know that this is a conversation that's been having with a lot of people we know. It's been happening both publicly and privately. It's discourse that you can find on threads. It's discourse that you can find on social media. It's out there. But I think ultimately you have to draw that line for yourself. I have no line yet. I personally welcome it, embrace it. It hasn't become problematic for me yet. I'm
Yeah.
also a guy
Yeah.
who, doesn't get confronted with other sorts of toxic fandom. So for me, it's kind of either I the things that come my way, I either address or don't address. But the DMs are open,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
I just think that the story is a smarter story than you give it credit for, is what I'm saying. Because I think depending on who's reading it and what you're reading, like the lens that you're viewing it from, I think that the people going to see Nathan can be the horror of it, and whatever is waiting for them beyond could be the horror of it. I just think it's a really smart story that kind of not I don't want to say capitalizes because it doesn't. It just encapsulates the push and pull of the social dynamic that we've got right now, you know?
I am really relieved and happy to hear that that is your interpretation of it because Lord knows that that was exactly what I intended through the writing and of that piece. And you got it.
There's
You got it. That was spot on.
yeah.
Um, but to answer your original question, I did ask for
Yeah.
his permission.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I emailed him. I got his email through another person who was his editor, publisher somewhere, and I was like, "Dear Mr. Ballingrud, Grud,
Hmm.
uh, I I have this idea for this story. I was a part of an anthology, a fundraising
Yeah.
anthology for Shortwave, from Shortwave. Um, and I was like, I was thinking of doing this thing, and I had actually written it, and I was like, I am attaching it here. Please read it at your own time frame, and then if you are open to the idea of it being published here in this anthology, which is raising money for libraries, uh, please check yes or check no. And he wrote back and he was like, yeah, this is fine. I feel like he's been like very uh, he offers no opinion on the piece itself. So like, but
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like, yeah, okay, like go for it,
Yeah.
kid.
Well,
Like,
it's the second time this year that I've read something, and you're gonna know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to say what book it is because I think it's kind of part of a spoiler that people discovered on their own. But there's another horror book that came out this year that took that meta-contextual idea of having an actual person who's in the horror community and making them a character in something.
October film,
Um,
huh?
yeah.
Okay,
I'm not gonna
yeah,
say who it is though, because I want people to like, discover that on their own.
yeah.
Um, so I think it's a cool thing. Like I really enjoy it when I see it, but my nerd brain, like I can't help but wonder of like the mechanics behind that. Like how do you get to that point where you're like, yeah, we can do that, you know?
Yeah. I think the two parties in that one are friends, friendly at
Oh
least.
yeah.
Um, and he knew what the other was doing.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, that was fun. That was fun to see how it all ended.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's a book that I think about a lot.
Yeah?
The October Film Haunt is
How do you
another
think
one.
about how do you think about books right now? You loved King Sorrow.
Oh
Uh,
God, yeah. Mm.
you loved October Film Haunt. What else is there? There's nothing else.
Um, there is other things. I'm trying to, so like my current plight is managing advanced copy reading with reading what I'm in the mood for, which is typically older stuff.
Hmm.
So like for instance, I just read Interview with the Vampire for the first time. Like had never read Anne Rice before, read her for the first time. Um, and then like I went back and I read Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones because like again, hadn't made my way to that before. Um, so I I am and I'm kind of making this I'm gonna take the soapbox because I'm very proud of you for not for actually talking about your books for like the last hour without trying to change the subject until now, which is a feat for us. So I'm gonna humor you here. But my thing I think in 2026 is I want to find that a happier balance between what I call quote unquote required reading, which is the stuff that's on a schedule, versus what I'm in the mood to read because I think that you hit burnout. I think that, and I've talked to a lot of people who do, interviews or reviewing when, time is kind of the essence. we do tend to feel a little bit more burned out when we're constantly reading on. And I'm sure that you feel the same way whenever you blurb because you blurb constantly. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this too. If you ever hit a point where you're like, man, I just want to read, like randomly, you'll just be like, man, I want to read this. You know, like whether it's like it because Welcome to Derry is coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, like there's a cultural moment. You're like, man, I'm hearing everybody talk about the Interview with the Vampire series. I want to read the book before I see it. You know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
pulls away from your reading that is for the community. So like, how do you wrestle with those? That's where I'm at with books right now. That's what I'm wrestling with.
So interesting to think of like there are just too many fucking books.
Yeah.
And like there's this said unsaid mandate of like you got to read these books and you got to read them now. And you got to read
hmm
them a year before they come out and you have
hmm
to like we're all just really big fans of books and yet there's this pressure outside of ourselves to read things.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's whether it's blurbs or reviews or interviews, like it's today, just today, I was like, fuck it. I want to read a book for myself because that's the thing that gets like sacrificed because for me it's
Yep.
like three things. It's like read for pleasure, read for research, or read for blurbs.
Right.
And all I'm doing right now is reading for blurbs. And it's a choice
hmm
ultimately. Um, but I'm sticking with it until I really burn out. But today I was like, I want to read I want to read something for me.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Mm.
And I read 100 pages and I was like, this feels lovely. And I was like, why is it every day like this?
Yeah.
And it's because fucking blurbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking blurbs, man.
That's yeah. I don't know what it I mean, I kind of ran into it before whenever I was younger. I tried to like start doing like commission artwork when I was like in big in my art phase, and I
Mm-hmm.
fucking hated it. If you told me exactly what to draw or paint and I had a deadline and I knew money was on the line, you couldn't make me do it. Like I just instantly hated it. There's something to be said about like art and I don't know, expectation
Mm-hmm.
that's rough sometimes. I don't know what sometimes makes it harder than others.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting thing that I think that a lot of us kind of wrestle with, you know, like how do you nourish the artist's soul and keep going, you know, without being too selfish, what we think is too selfish, because you want to, you know, give back to the community. And like again, time is of the essence with a lot of what we promote or like talk about or blurb or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but like me reading King Sorrow was like for me, I was like everybody's talking about this goddamn book and I feel so left out and I need to read it now and
And it was worth it,
it was
apparently.
so worth it. Did you read it yet?
No. When am I gonna have time to fucking read that
Well,
thing?
I mean,
I
I
need to
think
take a
you're
year off to read that thing.
well, if it makes you feel better, I got through it in like 5 days with like still going to work. Stayed up
Yeah.
very late a few nights. It was very good and it moves very, very quickly. But yeah. So like is I don't mean to like steal your question, but to reflect it back to you, how are you feeling about your own books in this last year? Like how are you feeling as an author at the end of 2025 going into 2026?
Um, do you want the real answer or do you want the canned answer?
I want the answer that you want to give me, whichever one that may be.
Um, I'm a little depressed
Yeah.
and I am struggling with a few kind of internal things that are just making it really hard, I guess. Which, you know, is, like there have been times where I've been like trying to kind of talk about this and it's really hard because like it's been, I guess, a successful year in
hmm
terms of it's been a productive year and you know there's like a weird kind of thing to reconcile which is like I'm very fortunate and I'm really lucky because I get to do this and this is what kind of this is my career, this is my passion, this is what kind of gives me kind of creative fulfillment. um but it's hard. I don't know. Like I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know. There's like so many kind of questions of just like identity and uh, just what where I am in this world. And I'm using storytelling as kind of a way to kind of reconcile with a lot of that and figure it out. Um, and then you put it out there in the world, and the world takes it and thinks what they think of it, and that kind of comes back to you, comes back to me. Let me own it. And and that is could be that is in of itself something to kind of reconcile. So like, yeah, I mean, like aggregately, I just
Hmm.
don't fucking know. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like I'm like I think I'm buckling under a certain pressure that nobody else is putting on me, but just like
Yeah.
I just want to like I just want to understand who I am and how I thrive
Yeah.
in this world that we're making, whether that's creative life, publishing life, the life at large, 2027, 20, whatever year we're in. Um, it's just like it's a weird time.
Yeah.
Um, so I count my good graces that I've been fortunate enough to put this stuff out there. I really hope it connects with somebody, anybody. Um, and that like I get to keep doing
Yeah.
it.
No, I get it. I think it's and I don't what I'm about to say is like not me trying to say, "Oh, I totally get it because this is the same." It's not the same, but the closest that I kind of come to relating to that feeling is like just when I was complaining about like I don't know how I balance reading for pleasure versus like quote unquote required reading, but like I feel so fortunate that I get advanced copies of books.
Yeah.
Like how fortunate do you feel like you feeling fortunate that you get to do this, but I think that it's still fair that you kind of wrestle with the internal feelings within that gratefulness, right? Like
Mhm.
what where's my place in this? What does success look like for me and like interrogating that idea because like this is not, and I mean, again, not trying to steal on your what you said, but like people have started asking me like, what are you gonna do in 2026? And I'm like, more of the same. Like, I don't
Mhm.
like, what do you mean? Like, I don't, I had to. I mean, my big thing this year was I was getting married, and like there was a big finish line to reach with that.
Mhm.
But like, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Like, this makes me happy.
Mhm.
So I kind of get it, but I understand, I would imagine on your scale, it's a much grander scale, especially with creativity and like being vulnerable because like you said, you're wrestling with this thing, you're trying to use your writing to work through it, and then people have opinions about it. That's really hard to be vulnerable and have people have opinions about it, right? Like that's rough.
Yeah. I mean, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, like, wouldn't it be nice to just be doing more of the same in 2026? Like, I feel like consistency, like I've been hopeful for consistency and stability. That
Hmm.
like I just keep on the hamster wheel. Like, who wouldn't want to just like read books and talk about
Yeah,
books and write books and like, like and to you and your point specifically, like you are now you are gatekeeping. Like you are someone that we come to you. We need you. You're like all we've got. And
it's not true, but
no, but it is. Like I think within the horror community at large, there are so few outlets now that are open to writers to talk about their work. So, God, when I got the invitation for this, specifically this one, I was just like, thank God. But it's like
yeah,
there's just this like feeling of like like it's just not a given. Like it's just not like this is it. This is the precious moment. And like I hope I don't fuck it up. I hope I say something that's like valuable that lets me continue doing this because it it might not be there in 2026 or
yeah,
2027, 2028. And it's just like the hamster wheel, man. Like it's just like
Yeah.
spins and it spins, and we have to stay on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll caveat and say like there's obviously still an internal pressure that I want next year to be better than this year. Like you always want to be getting better. Like
Hmm.
I think everybody who cares about what they do, and I think artists in particular, because it's so in tune to like it's so personal, right? Like it can't not be personal.
Hmm.
You obviously want to improve every year. So like, I would love to do something different and improve, but I don't know what that different looks like next year. And if it's more of the same, that means improvement for me. And like, then that's great. But like, I think the name of, or the shape and name of improvement is hard to identify sometimes. But I mean, as far as it feels to me, like, especially with Shiny Happy People, I feel like that's hitting a target audience at a crucial time, at a very precious moment, and I know, like you said, it's kind of a hot button, like, what do you take away from it issue? But I do think that, for me when I was in high school, therapy or like talking about depression or like, not being optimal all of the time was like big. You just didn't talk about it. And I know like that was years ago. We've turned it away from that, but I still think that there's a component of like needing to foster that conversation. And this is a book that's doing that. So
Um, yeah, let's just hope people find
yeah,
it. Let's hope it's a good book, and then let's hope people read it.
yeah.
Uh, those are really big goals.
Let's shift gears a little bit and let's look to 2026. I have
But
another collection with Titan coming out, correct?
I have a novella with them.
Novella, okay.
Yeah, and that comes out in April. It's called Bottles
Yeah.
of Work.
Exactly, yeah. So what
Yeah,
else you got going on in 2026? What else can we
I
look forward to with you?
I have a horror romance coming out in August 2026 called Devil Inside.
Yes.
You're
How does
killing
that
me.
feel?
You're killing me. You
I'm
know
wanting
this, right? You've read it, and like I can't have this. I'm gonna have this conversation with you within the scope of this interview, but you have to know you're killing me right now.
Okay,
Like
we're
you've
gonna
read
hit
it,
I'm gonna
and
mark
like
the pause. I'm
no,
gonna
you
mark the
can't.
pause
You
button.
can't. You can't pause this. Like this is now a part of public record. Like you're killing me. You're killing me
I can't
because you've
spoil it
read
for
this book.
everybody else.
Well, like you're breaking my heart right now. Like I hope you keep this in. I know this is your podcast and that
Okay.
this is like the
I'm gonna say this in that I think you did really something very, very brilliant and smart that I love about this book. I'm not gonna say what it is because it's a spoiler, and this is where I cut. A quick break for spoilers and back to our regularly scheduled programming. Remember you being very anxious and worried about wake up and open your eyes. And I'm kind of curious, like, how do you feel about it now? Like,
I feel fine. I mean, honestly,
yeah.
like I'm in coolly indifferent to it because like the book wasn't successful enough to reach the people who don't want to read it.
Hmm.
The only people that I've pissed off with that book are the people who really wanted to like it. Which is a bummer because, and it is a bummer and it isn't a bummer. I, before the book came out and when we were talking, I was nervous and anxious about like, what are people gonna, how are they gonna react to it? For the
Well,
people who
with
are
the
ready.
election too,
Yeah, yeah.
it was up in the air at that point.
Oh God. Was that how far back we talked? Like
I
before the
think,
election?
I think it was, and if it wasn't, it was at least before inauguration. So I know that there was that component of it,
God.
but
Yeah. I mean, for better or worse, certainly worse. The world that we are currently living in, presently living in, is a world that I feel reflects more the world of the book.
I was about to say,
Um,
yeah. I mean, you kind of called it. You kind of,
I mean, but the which makes me feel like the book is this kind of landmine waiting for readers on bookshelves and bookstores because like the book is actually doing pretty well. It's one of the
hmm
better like as far as like my career and stuff like that book is doing better than a lot of other books. It's doing way better than What Kind of Mother. It's doing pretty much as good if not better than Ghost Eaters, which tends to be the kind of like the
yeah.
bar. Uh, but it's like it's not making those waves.
Hmm.
And before the book came out, I was like, ooh, I wonder if it's gonna make waves.
Yeah.
And it hasn't. And now I'm kind of like, God, do I really want this book to make waves? Like, I don't know if I want it to make waves. I kind of like, there's a little bit of me just being like, kind of like ducking and covering because uh, the world is a fucking scary place. And I don't want to get doxxed. I don't want to get death threats. I don't want to get like any of that stuff. Um, so yeah, all I'm pissing off are readers who are coming to the book to feel to feel good about themselves. I don't know.
But
Um,
I don't, I'm gonna throw it out. I don't know that a reader coming to the horror genre to feel good about themselves, like, I don't know that you're setting yourself up for success with that. Because horror is supposed to be transgressive and raise questions and, like, make you feel a certain way, but it isn't always positive.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I definitely hope I'm not coming off as woe as me. Um, but it's interesting how you know, I spend way too much time on Goodreads and, you know, reading these reviews. And like a lot of the response has been like, well, I really wanted to like this book. Or I wish this was a more subtle book or a more nuanced take on the topic. And like what I'm hearing, and you know, like I always go to reviews and Goodreads and Storygraph to kind of like find what is the general consensus, like what is the kind of response that I can learn from, like because I want to take that into the next book. And the kind of general consensus that a thread of general consensus that I'm getting from Wake Up is that like were this in defter hands, a better writer's hands, we could kind of address this topic of where like the current political climate. And I personally kind of don't agree with that. Like I reject that on a kind of on a certain level. Um, but I do find it interesting that not every reader, but a lot of readers want the nuanced, kind of restrained approach to this. Like like thinking of it like, you know, I kind of kid about this and I'm cheeky, but like in Dom DeLillo's hands, this would be, you know, we could read it and be like, yes, yes, yes. That is
I have a
correct.
counter argument to the whole thing.
Okay.
One, Goodreads. I mean, and, like, this is just a thing that, like, I fucking suck at posting on Goodreads. Like, I am the worst. Like, I don't, I, sometimes I'll just finish shit and I just, like, mark it as, like, because my review is not done yet. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I gotta go back and put it. And then, like, once every 6 months, I'm like, fuck, I didn't put anything on Goodreads. So then I gotta go back. And so, like, you're not getting, and this is, I don't doubt that I'm the first person. Like, I doubt, I mean, I feel like many people have told you this, but your sample size of like what you're getting is not, um, the community. And like the thing about Wake Up and Open Your Eyes that I feel like why I really liked it is you wrote a book that you can hold in your hand. And when I read that, in my hand, I was like, this anxiety that I'm feeling in this book, this is how I feel about the state of our world. You know what I mean? Because it is, you were very clear. You weren't subtle about it because like that's not, I don't think that that's reality. I think that a lot of people feel that anxious about where we're going as a society. So
Mhm.
like that book encapsulates that, and I think that if people wanted it to be, I mean that's the biggest thing I think, and I've had this conversation with many of people, that any expectation that you take into a book that's not met is on you. Like you
Mhm.
got to read the book for what it is, in my opinion. And I think that like a lot of times, I'm not gonna lie to you, like whenever I get an advanced copy of something, 9 times out of 10, it's because I've heard the comp and I'm like, yes, the comp is good, or I know the author. I'm like, yes, I like that author's style. I don't even care what it's about.
Mhm.
I don't want to know what it's about because as soon as I know what it's about, I'm going to go in with a preconceived notion. So I would rather go into it blind and then think about the book for what it is and what it's accomplishing that the author is telling me that they're hoping to accomplish.
Mhm.
than what everybody else is saying, even the author themselves, like the blurb that you get about what it's about. And that way, like you kind of set you're never really disappointed that often that way. And I think anybody who's like, well, I was hoping this, but that's on you. Like
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty rare take because I feel like we come into books wanting the book to be the book that we want to read and not
But
necessarily
like,
the book that's written.
but I think in the business of like where we're sitting, that's what older books are for. That's what the books that like have been, that's what the interview for the vampires are for.
Yeah.
When they're like these pieces that have been there for a while, like you know what you're walking into whenever you open up that book. Whenever it's new, that I think that I think if your expectations are met every single time that you open up a new book, what a fucking bland world we live in. You know what I mean? How terrible would that be?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the only other thing I'll add, uh, you know who is really prompt about writing their Goodreads reviews?
Yeah.
People who don't like the books.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. The internet warriors who want to go and
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
No, there's books that I fucking love that I talk about all the time that I just like I mean I my King Sour one, I still haven't moved that over. And like I wrote that in
get
like a
on with
frenzy at
that.
like I wrote that
Shut
in a
up.
frenzy at like midnight 2 nights ago and it's sitting on Capes and Tights and I don't even think I put it on my net galley yet to get my percentage up, which would only help myself to get approved for more things.
You
Like
only have yourself to blame.
I
This
know, that's what
is
I'm saying.
this is on
I
you.
just, you have to remember this whenever you're looking at Goodreads, that the people who are taking to Goodreads are not, maybe not the sample size that you want to be referencing.
No. Um, and it's my own damn fault. I mouth off about this so much that my friends should be pretty annoyed with me, and I know that they are. But like, I I can't stop. I can't quit Goodreads.
I get it.
Why
You
can't I
should write a
quit
book.
you?
You should write a book about that.
I'll get on that.
The possession of Goodreads.
Um, yeah, I
But
think with yeah, I think with Devil Inside and Devil Inside had to be the kind of counter to Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. Like I was like, this is like I want to do one more possession thing,
yeah,
and then I mean, I'm never gonna say never, but like it felt like Wake Up was this grander scale, and then Devil Inside is this more kind of
well, it's
micro scale.
interpersonal. Yeah, it's interpersonal. You see how it works out between two entities rather than a whole nation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you technically, Seance in the Asylum is also another one.
Yeah.
But that's, a little bit more historical focus than those two. But, you
I
technically went 3 for 3.
I'm obsessed with it. I love possession. I'll just keep doing it until someone says no,
Well, tell
no,
me what
no.
this novella is about, though. The one that's coming out with
Oh
Titan.
my God. It's a story that I've like been dying to tell for years. And then now I'm like, oh my God, like it's actually getting published. And I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck? Oh shit. Um, it's a, it's a, what is it even about? Oh, like maybe it's about a serial killer. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe it's about an artist who like a folk artist, like a an artist who has no proper training and has been living in his own hermetically sealed microcosm, kind of untapped and untouched by the world at large. Maybe it's a ghost story. Maybe it's all in our heads. Maybe reality isn't real. Maybe we're not here. Maybe this is all the Matrix and like me talking to you is just like a construct of some like larger like like construct that just like it's not real, man. It's not none of it's
Yeah.
real.
So you
Maybe
mean to
it's
tell
all
me,
that.
so you mean to tell me that you're tackling all this in novella length?
Yeah, man. It's
Fuck, all
true.
right.
Fuck.
All
Um
right. I'm
Yeah,
impressed already.
I am so fucked. I am
No,
like
you're
literally
not.
fucked. I hope
No,
you're
you're not.
bleeping all of these F-bombs because this is gonna be an explicit episode. On this week's episode, things get real.
No, I'm really interested to see where that goes, especially in Novella Live.
Yeah. The people who've read it have been like, oh, okay. Everyone, everyone gives you a wider berth with this one. They're like, wow, all right.
Do
Like,
off the bat, I have to ask, do you feel like it shares any DNA at all with Kill Your Darling?
no,
No.
no. I mean, it looks at art and it's kind of,
That's what I'm thinking. Like the artist wrestling
yeah,
with the like the driver, right? With
yeah.
the
But that is some like loose DNA.
okay.
You know, there's this amazing folk artist, Henry Darger, depends
Hmm.
on who you ask, who I'm just obsessed with. Like I've been obsessed with him for years. And I always wanted to tell his story, but it's all kind of wrapped up in like copyright and like his story is a story that can't be told by just anybody. I can't tell it. So I've buried it under all of these like narratives and like like his story is like an obsession of mine, and this is as close as I'll ever get to telling it.
And I'm really excited for you to keep going and to see what for the world to get your things and for the world to hear what you have to say because I think that you have important things to say. This has been a fun conversation. I've had fun. I don't know if you've had fun. You seem like you're kind of going through it.
I'm going through it, but that's not your fault, you know. I'm going through it, but I love going through it. I
Yeah.
got nowhere else to go but
I think
through it.
that the best art comes from going through it. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Um, so let's make some good art.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for answering all of my questions about all of the shit that you put out this year, from Shiny Happy People to Wake Up and Open Your Eyes and Acquired Taste and everything else. You provided some great answers, some great talking points, and this therapy session is wrapping up. Until next year.
Crash into me, crash into me.
If I could get the copyright like the copyright, whatever you want to call it, to make that the theme song of this episode, I would so do it, but I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
let me sing it off key.
Okay.
I I feel like I don't even remember how the song goes, but I doesn't it like crash into
That is a part of the song, yeah.
yeah. And isn't there like a crash into me?
Yeah, yeah.
Ding, ding, ding,
And
ding.
he does that thing where he like kind of riffs, you know.
How? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you do
I'm
it?
not doing it. I'm not doing it.
He riffs like skidabop beep bop crash crash.
A little bit like that. Yeah.
Crash. I've ugh. I'm not a fan of Dave Matthews. I grew up in Virginia. He's from
Mhm.
Virginia. He would always like for years, like there would be just flyers for like Dave Matthews Band playing every Wednesday night at this little cafe. And people would be like, "Meh, meh, Dave Matthews." And then he becomes this juggernaut and we're all like, Dave Matthews. But he was always there. He was just like some dude walking down the street
With a guitar.
with a guitar.
Riffing.
That's my name. Crash into me.
Perfect. I love it. I think that was spot on. Thank you so much, Clay. It's always a delight.
Thanks for having me. Missed
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome here anytime that you want. You just tell me.
No, that's the thing. I have to wait. I have to like pins and needles.
I don't think that's how that works, but whatever. Another big ol' thanks to Clay for coming on the podcast and being as vulnerable as he is in this conversation, talking about his work, how he feels about his work, his what he's writing about, the importance of what he's writing about, his intended messaging, REM, everything else. I mean, we really cover the full spectrum of conversation with this interview. Um, I do have to ask that you forgive a few possible editing blips. We do talk about quite a few spoilerific things, so I tried to piece together this interview as best I could to keep things from being too spoilery for anybody who's not read some of Clay's newer stuff. In the meantime, if you are looking towards the end of the year like I am, I will say that I have two more big episodes to share with you all. The first being my interview with Chrissy DeMeester. That'll be going out next week. We're going to be talking about her novel Dark Sisters, which I absolutely loved. And then I will be posting a kind of year-end reflection type episode, which is going to be a little bit different than I think some other episodes have been. Trying to do something a little bit fresh if it can be helped. But yeah, I'm working on that now, and I am thrilled to be sharing all of that with you guys. So thank you all for listening, per usual. I hope that you all have had a wonderful holiday season, if that's something that you participate in, and I hope that you all are staying safe and happy and warm, because it's actually cold down here in the South for the first time in forever, and I am so giddy. And until next week, I'll see you guys.